Well, hey, Mariah.
Hi, Monique.
I have a really bold question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever done like mushrooms?
Wow, you're going for it today.
I know, right?
You're going for a really bold question. To be totally honest, at a retreat that both you and I were on, I did try a microdose of mushrooms, psychedelics.
Well, the person that we're talking to today is all about this. And her platform is, and her work is all about educating people about this.
Yes.
It's amazing. Psychedelic facilitator, Emilie Silker. And I want to talk to her and hear what her story is, how she got into kind of this controversial job.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I certainly was not familiar with this realm at all, but I, as with everything that I've been doing in the realm of coaching and being open to new things, was really lucky to meet Emilie and to understand through her what a powerful medium this can be for healing for people. And it opened my eyes to a whole world that I wasn't aware of, and I feel like has begun to, or maybe has been helping people for a long time, but as a society, we're becoming more and more open to the idea of this modality. So I'm like, think that the work that Emilie's doing is super cool.
yes. So I think we should talk about that.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Welcome to Heart and Soul, the podcast where we empower and inspire women to lead their best lives, harnessing the power of their hearts and souls. We are Mariah
And Monique.
your hosts and guides on this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
In each episode, we will dive deep into topics that matter most to you, from self-love and confidence to career development, relationships, and everything in between. We believe that every woman has a unique strength and inner wisdom waiting to be unleashed.
Join us as we cover insightful heart and soul-centered topics and interview incredible women who've overcome challenges, chased their dreams, and found their true purpose. Through all of this, you will discover practical tips, strategies, and real-life stories to help you navigate life's twists and turns.
For whatever season of life you're in, this podcast is your safe space to explore, learn, grow, and possibly even laugh and cry with us. So grab your headphones, maybe your favorite drink, and we'll embark on this transformative journey together.
With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique.
Hi, Emilie.
Hi.
Hello.
Mariah and I love to share a little bit about how we met you.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to go first.
You go first. Yeah.
Go for
I
it.
think I was, and please, Emilie, correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think I was teaching a yoga class at a local studio, right?
Yeah.
And you were participating. And then afterwards, you came up and we started chatting about psychedelics or plant medicine. Is that right?
Yeah, I forgot about
And real
that.
estate?
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
And I was like, oh, we
Wait a
have a
minute.
lot of things that we've done that are kind of similar. And because I remember thinking like, who is this person and where did she come from?
I thought the same about you. I'm like, she's spiritual. She's doing real estate. You can do both.
Right. Another one exists.
A unicorn.
Right. So, and ever since then, we've worked together. You've been in our mastermind, which has been our complete and utter honor to watch you grow and transform and launch your business.
Yeah.
So you should say how you met us.
Okay. Well, I met Emilie through our mastermind.
Okay.
Because she knew you and she chose to join the Heart and Soul Mastermind. And I just from the very first time that I met Emilie, I could just feel this like beautiful soul, this just glowing presence, and something really magical wanted to come out of that and flow through her business opportunities, but was stuck. And so I was just really, again, like you said, an honor. And it was really amazing to understand like what she wanted to create out of this business, which is forging a new pathway, something that was not even accepted or, talked about.
Right.
And
Understood.
Since then, I feel like, since then, now it's like, this is something people are talking about.
Yes.
It started to show up on podcasts I listened to and in news stories and Netflix documentaries. And So it was just really cool to know that you're on the cutting edge of this. And then more importantly, it's Emilie's why. It's why she has come to this. So I am excited for you to share that with our audience because if there's anything that we are open to, it's whatever modalities are healing for people.
Yes.
Whatever helps to break through trauma, to grow, to expand. We want to share that.
Yeah.
So welcome, Emilie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, you two.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it perfectly how I was like stuck last year. It was like stuck, but everything was also like moving. A lot of stuff moving and trying to move through this space. Like you said, kind of being one of the, not the first ones, but maybe one of the first around Duluth to actually speak out about it and be taking action and being more open about it because it was kind of such like a scary, unknown place, right? But like you said, it seems like the last year and a half, it's just been the research and everything has been blowing up where people are like, oh, wait, you're just not doing a bunch of drugs, right? You're like facing your shit and it's helping.
Because, I feel like before there was a lot of judgments.
For sure.
I mean, I'm going to say even 5 years ago, there was a lot of judgments around using psychedelics for healing.
Yeah. And
I feel like the more you learn about it, I think those judgments were put in place to keep us from wanting to do things like that. But that's a whole nother
don't
thing,
even start me.
The
60s and 70s when it all got like shut down.
Yeah. There's a lot of control factors.
Yeah, because people are just like, people are losing their minds and they're having free will and they're thinking freely. Like, what do we do?
Yeah, but I do feel like in our area, you are one of the first people. There's been a couple, but to stand out in our area and say, I'm doing this thing. And it probably shocked a lot of people.
Yeah.
But that's very brave and very bold of you because anytime people stand and say, you know, this thing that has been different and that has been judged before, I'm going to use this to help you heal. I feel like that's very kudos. Yeah.
Thank
you. So for people listening that maybe don't know much about psychedelics as a medium, whatever we're talking about, because I really didn't when I met you.
Yeah.
Will you share, share your story and share, what is this world that you're bringing?
Yeah. So how long of a story do you want?
Yeah. Hey, we're here all day.
How many hours do you have? So my story, my healing story is what started it all, you know, and my childhood and having sexual abuse in the home and witnessing sexual abuse. But not remembering it. So
a lot of repressed memories.
Yeah, I had blocked it all out for so long and blocked a lot of it out. It's what our minds do just to keep us safe. There's nothing wrong with it. It happens. So then you come to a point in your 20s, you're like, why do I not feel like looking around at people happy? You're like, why do I not look like that? Why am I not that happy? Like something is missing here, right? So I started kind of doing some inner work. And as you peel back the layers, more memories come up. And so at 28, I was diagnosed with PTSD. That was 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Started EMDR therapy, started peeling back the layers, like realizing that abuse had happened at that point, just a little bit in childhood. Started doing EMDR therapy with that. And then just continuing the healing and realizing how much it was helping me. And we were just talking about earlier, how our surroundings are a mirror to our kind of what's going on within us. And my world was chaos and my marriage was so unhealthy. And I was, it was abusive and all the things, the circumstances that I had put myself into because of where I was at. Anyways, continued the healing. Coaching, did everything I could think of, talk therapy, all the things. And a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, someone said, well, have you ever tried mushrooms? And I was just like, you're fucking crazy. I did that once and I thought I lost my mind, you know?
But you had done it recreationally.
Recreationally, yes. It was very different. I did it like at a concert and when I was like 20 or something. And it was because I had all this trauma that I hadn't looked at. And that's why the experience was difficult from what I have learned. And setting and all the things. It wasn't a safe space, you know. So I had a safe space held for me. I tried mushrooms and I was
And you tried them in ceremony then?
It wasn't a ceremony. It was a friend in town that had already experienced it in ceremonies, and I trusted this person. And they held a very safe space and were very smart about like on the come up of like getting me moving, canoeing, you know, things where I'm not focusing just on my mind. But then in the experience, I felt like I did like 6 months of EMDR healing in 4 hours.
Wow.
And I don't know if you know EMDR, but like that is a very intense healing somatic
it's a lot of
process.
integration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to do that and heal so quickly, you know, you guys know what it's like being a business owner. I'm like, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah,
100%.
Right. How can
I'm going to do that with
speed this up? Right.
Like Jesus, yeah.
Right.
So using this as a catalyst, and then also being a mom with 3 kids, like they don't need to suffer anymore from a parent being mentally not that I was like ill, but not the most stable. And
when you said there was a lot of chaos in the home too.
Right. Yeah. With our marriage and everything like that.
Right.
So at this point, you know, a couple years ago, I had gotten out of that and I was in a pretty good place, but still felt like there were things missing. So that came in, and then I started doing a larger dose by myself in my bedroom every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was no one around doing it. And anyone I brought it up to would be like, what are you doing? Like, you're crazy. And I'm just like, no, I understand the healing process. Like, I knew I had a high level of self-awareness. I knew that it was working.
You felt it.
I felt it. I felt the difference. I felt my throat opening. I felt, you know, being able to breathe again. I felt the weight lifted. So when that happened, I was just like, I'm going to dive right into every psychedelic I can find. Like, I'm going to pave this path for people because I know I have the strength and the courage to do so. And I also know I have things to heal. Dove into everything the last couple of years. More trauma continued to come up. Things that I witnessed as a child helped me. Ayahuasca helped me with that. Ayahuasca really can bring back anything and everything, along with MDMA also can really bring clarity and bring memories back that you never thought you would have access to. So it's been nonstop. And now I'm at this place of like being able to finally experience full bliss and excitement in my entire body, which is like...
It's so
told
beautiful.
you guys always make me cry.
We don't mean to. Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, that statement, though, is so beautiful.
Yeah, because people's trauma, you know, I see it now in other people. Like, they have, especially if they had the trauma when they were a child, they don't even know what that feels like.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't even
know what it's like to feel safe. Right.
They don't know what it's like to feel safe. They don't know what joy truly feels like or excitement. And like to now fully feel that, and it's just like, wow, this is amazing. Like, what have I been missing out on? Yeah.
It's so powerful. And to think, you know, that there are healing mediums out there that when used responsibly and with people who can facilitate them, that are not new. These are thousands of years old.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah.
Like these are things that, you know, people have known forever, but haven't been accessible in our lifetime. And I remember vividly just when you were explaining this experience and what you do, like how you were willing to trailblaze even when it was risky for yourself. And I just like, you stood so firmly in that ground in your belief that for me, I just was like, okay, like I am willing to listen. I am someone who would not have previously thought I'd be down for this.
Right.
But like now I just want to connect you to all the right people and like help you get your messaging out. And I think that's what's so beautiful about your story is like it is lived.
Right.
And now you can use that to benefit others.
Right. Right. Yeah. Experiencing it is one, like reading it in a book and learning about it, is one thing. Like actually experiencing it all so you can truly connect with the people coming to you and know what they're experiencing is a whole nother thing. I think I'm able to walk people through their trauma so much better. And now, because of all this trauma that I've had, I've become I started out pretty sensitive. Now I'm like extremely sensitive, where now to the point I can tap into their energy and actually help them work through their emotions and their trauma now that I've healed mine. So there's beauty in all of it.
Can you explain to us a little bit, okay, so how it works? I understand because I've done a couple plant medicine ceremonies, but I'd like to hear your perspective on how it helps heal with trauma. So either whether it's ayahuasca, San Pedro, washuma,
Yeah.
MDMA,
MDMA.
Sorry, thank you.
that's okay.
Mushrooms,
Psilocybin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pot, right?
Right. Yeah.
How does that work to help heal trauma? Because that's really the basis of your work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel there's different medicines for different things.
Yes.
And that's kind of what, like when my clients come in, we talk about where they're at, their intention, where they want to go, and the work that they've done up until that point. So let's say someone comes in and they have done all the talk therapy possible.
Yes.
And they had, they were sexually assaulted or something. And they haven't released the energy from their body, or they haven't done the somatic work. And going into ayahuasca or medicine that can purge that energy, San Pedro as well, like that can move that energy. I think that like you literally have to purge. Whether that be, it doesn't have to be puking. It could be other ways. It can be sweating. It can be your body convulsing, even moving energy. If you have nothing left to purge. But there's many ways to move the energy, and plant medicine really pushes you over that edge. So once that energy is released, your nervous system is not imprinted by that trauma anymore. And things can actually like flow and move through your body, where before that, it's usually just so stuck because everything's scary and you're in freeze mode.
I think that's something that has not been well understood, or at least talked about, is how the body literally stores the emotion.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that book came out, The Body Keeps the Score, but it's like I don't think people realize how important.
I would agree. Like my work with using Kundalini yoga, and it's the same, but I feel like plant medicine is the more of an extreme. So let's say you are dealing with a small T or a large T, but I feel like really to access the really big things, plant medicines are just an elevated form. But I am ridiculous about only doing them in ceremony, right? Like not just like lackadaisically, not saying anybody else isn't, but I'm not a casual person who just goes about doing things, because I want intentionality behind it, because I want to heal intentionally. Yes. But I will say, even with my experience, when I went and did, I was on a plant medicine retreat in Peru, as I've shared with you guys, for 2 weeks. It was like 2 years of therapy to just back up what you're saying. Yeah. Because your body releases so much things, you're able to sit and process so much of what does come up and work through all of the things that you either had some awareness of, unawareness of, or full awareness, but didn't know how to handle it. So all the varying levels of awareness, and you're able to just work through it. And it's sort of a fascinating thing. And especially when you have a really great facilitator.
Yeah, you definitely need that safe space to be held for you.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of the last ceremony I did with ayahuasca. It was a safe container, but also they were very good at moving energy. And I realized like the power of the energy movement within that ceremony. And I forgot what I was getting at. But yeah, the safe container is huge. And
yes.
Oh, I was going to say, because you said, like 2 months of therapy.
Yes.
For me, because I am sensitive, I go very deep, very fast, and we had kind of talked about that too. Like I've gotten lost at times in the darkness,
the void,
or I go into other lifetimes and get lost in that. There's many places you can get lost, but also, yeah, if you have that safe space and facilitators that you trust and know that have been there as well and can get you back out of it, or you don't necessarily want to get people back out of it. You want them to find their own way, but you want them to be able to know that they have a body in a way so they're not completely lost, I think is a good place to be. Because that's what I would have wanted when I got lost.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, how does somebody work with you? What does this look like? And you guys have shared many different types of plant medicine, and that's
Yes.
really like the larger overarching, like psychedelics, plant medicine, maybe
Right.
another way that people know or heard of it,
Mhm.
which for the most part you've done it, where you have to travel to do these in
Yes.
countries
Yeah.
where they're part of the indigenous practice. So talk about somebody who's curious, they're listening to this podcast and they're going like, hey, I would really like something that speeds this process up. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I would like to do 2 years of healing in 2 weeks
No
in
kidding.
Peru or
Right.
Duluth or wherever.
wherever I live. Right.
Because that's really like, that has to perk some ears. Like,
I would hope so. It did for me.
It did for me. Yeah, it did for me too.
Yeah.
And talk about how you work with people. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, just to that point, I mean, the biggest reason that I do this in Duluth and I don't really travel that much anymore is because not everybody can travel. Not everybody can leave their kids.
They don't have the means.
Yeah, they
Right.
don't have the means. They might not have the time.
Right.
And that has been, an issue that I had with 3 kids. Of just like, how do I heal or go to retreats when I have no one to hang out?
Yeah.
2 weeks in
take care of my
Peru
kids?
is not an easy feat.
No, that's not an option. And so the first time I did go to Costa Rica, the medicine showed me like, you need to get this back to Duluth. You need to get this to the area. You need to help people heal. Get the medicine there. That was my first time with ayahuasca, and I was just like, that's weird.
I don't know. Have a clue how I'm going to do that. But
Okay, well, we'll just wait and see. But yeah, so the process looks. The biggest thing again was making it accessible. So the first thing that I was able to make accessible here that I could get trained in and people would understand was psilocybin. So that's like the main medicine I'm working with right now is psilocybin, a little bit of combo, which is like an energetically healing medicine. It's non-psychedelic. But psilocybin is where most people are coming to me because there is so much research and talk about it. So with that, I help people with microdosing, which is just like a small dose. You need about 2 grams of mushrooms to actually like see things and be tripping and all that stuff. Microdosing is about 0.1 to 0.3 grams.
Okay.
And so that's like easing your way into the medicine and building your relationship with it and seeing how it works with your body and seeing if it's even the right compound for you, for your intention and your lifestyle.
And give us some examples of what ailments, what issues this would help people with psilocybin.
Oh, I mean, it breaks patterns and habits because it creates neuroplasticity. So everything in our life is a pattern or habit. So you can pretty much work through anything with it. And then also anxiety, depression, those are all loops. Getting your nervous system regulated so you can get to the root of trauma and start kind of moving it around and release it and somatically releasing it. So pretty much, or if you just want to expand your mind and get to your subconscious a little more, it's kind of endless where it can go.
Okay, thank you.
So that modality has particularly broad effects and possibilities, and it's easy to access.
Yeah.
Easy is not the right word.
Well, microdosing is possible,
Yes, the
or you can do
microdosing, right.
or you can do it in ceremony and do a larger dose.
Yes.
And how would a larger dose of it help?
So a larger dose, I feel, helps with like the deep root of stuff. Like if you really want to get to your subconscious or learn how to surrender, because mushrooms really are just
You're on for the ride.
You're on,
Yeah.
You don't get to choose what you're doing on mushrooms. So, it depends on like your intention and your mindset
Sure.
too. I've had people again that have processed everything through their minds. They sit in ceremony with me. They have the energetic release. They're like, my mind was just racing the whole time, but then I feel amazing afterwards. It's like, because your mind already did it. Your body was releasing the energy. So that's one benefit, the energetic release. And then I help move energy through people as well. So if they are stuck and they need that somatic release or the gentle hand to start moving the emotions to release them, then that is another release. You can have insight on past lives, other lives. Maybe, I've had people, I mean, it's so different for everyone. Like
Yes.
just perspective shifts
Yeah.
of like my life sucks and it's horrible and everything's,
Just
the
being
worst.
negative, right?
To wow, this is like a beautiful mess. Like it's supposed to be like this and it's amazing and beautiful. Just perspective shifts. Like it can bring you in so many different directions. That's the beauty of mushrooms, but then also kind of the unknown for people too can bring a little bit of fear with mushrooms. So it's not always for everybody, but if you are looking to catalyze something, and have the right intention and the right space held for you, you can more than likely get there.
Okay, so that's psilocybin.
Psilocybin. Okay.
Yep. That's one.
That's one.
Yeah, would you
Don't
like
get me
to
too excited.
On the menu. Yeah.
So, yeah, what's another one?
Another one, MDMA, which has been so like mind-blowing to me because, people do it in their 20s and whatever at raves and partying, and I had done it in my 20s and I was just like, how would you heal with that? That's insane. And so I came across this PDF and it's called a solo MDMA journey or something. And it teaches you how to be your own therapist. I'm still not completely sure what MDMA does to the brain. My therapist has said like it shuts down your amygdala, which is a fear response. And then also your body is in like extreme safety. So you can access any memories and get clarity on pretty much anything in your life, like deep clarity, which I've really loved because I love exploring my subconscious. And MDMA is more like a controlled way to do it. You get to come in with like a list of questions and be like, why do I do this? Why do I track this? What, all
Sounds
these
really
questions.
analytical almost, or logical.
I think that's why I like it.
Yeah.
You get, it's
It's
question
less
response.
of a wild psychedelic ride and more logical.
You don't have to surrender.
Yeah.
So that one's been really powerful for people too, and just seeing how things show up in their life. For me, that one was very powerful in bringing back a moment in my 20s when I was drugged and assaulted, and I didn't know that had even happened until 6 or 7 months ago. I had a feeling, and obviously I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was 28. I thought that was from like only childhood stuff, but it was a mixture of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I had healed a lot of it through my body, not knowing necessarily what I was healing in EMDR. But I did a meditation one night 7 months ago and was focusing on some tension in my body. I talked to my body a lot, like what's going on? What are you trying to tell me? And that tension was showing me curled up in a ball on my side like this and like trying to defend myself. And I was like, whoa, shit, like there's something there. It was really intense, a lot of emotions. And so 2 days later, I did MDMA. I was able to bring back the entire memory and process like a shit ton of it.
Without the emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, like overload.
Without the emotion, still emotional, but not the emotional overload.
Like where it shuts you down.
Right.
Yeah.
I was able to move it. I was able, and I've done enough work where I was able to sit with it and just feel it in my body and feel it moving and do as much work as I could within 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was extremely powerful. So coming back down from that, I guess this is kind of a gateway into the next one.
But I do have a question about MDMA. I can't say.
MDMA?
Thank you. It's not a microdoser. It's a ceremonial sort of thing.
Yeah, I would not, because it can affect the serotonin in your brain. So we're not trying to ruin our brains. We're trying to make them healthier, right? And there are a bunch of supplements and things that protect your brain and your nervous system with MDMA that I would highly recommend. But they do say, like, if you do the healing within it, when you're coming out, your brain, that's going to heal your brain in itself, getting that trauma out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so you don't want to if you do a little dose of it, it almost gets like, can I say methy?
Interesting.
Okay. Like jittery, like.
Oh, so it's not healthy.
Yeah. You don't feel good.
Okay.
You have to do like I shouldn't say a good amount, but a certain amount.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so I had to bring that back to earth with me. luckily I had a friend, there for me waiting, kind of just like knew what was happening. And I guess is my boyfriend now. But yeah, so that bringing that back to earth was a lot, like bringing back the memory, bringing everything up.
Yeah, because then you have to process it.
Because then I have to process it, because
Yes.
I'm like, wait, it feels like it just happened yesterday when you just realize it happened.
Right.
It's just like, what the fuck? This is my story now? Like, this has to be
Yeah.
my story? Haven't I had enough stories? So that's when I was just like, I need to go back into an ayahuasca ceremony, because I knew she could finish the process. Like,
Okay.
she would fully take care of me and finish the process, whether that was hard or easy or however it was going to look. And because after that too, going back, I processed so much of it, but then my nervous system was on edge because my body hadn't fully processed it. So I was triggered very easily by like little things, little sounds where, yeah, it was just a lot. And so I knew my body was still holding on to it, and I could only do so much on my own. And again, I don't think that we should sit and suffer just because we shouldn't be doing these drugs or whatever people want to call them. I think that we deserve anything that comes from the earth, and we deserve to heal as fast as possible if we want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, preach.
And
Yeah.
again, these are
That's-
modalities that have been
don't
used
get me
for
started.
thousands of years for
Exactly.
exactly this purpose.
Right. They come from the earth. Nobody should be gatekeeping our earth, right? We should all have access to it.
And also, they don't come with a laundry list of side effects that are way worse,
No shit. Right.
like the drug companies' drugs do. But
Exactly.
anyways, you
Yeah.
and I could go on for
I know,
hours.
we could have a whole podcast on that.
Okay, so then you went into ayahuasca to help you process a lot of the pain
Yes.
of the awareness brought to the experience that you had that was repressed.
Right. So the first night, this was like probably
And this was again in ceremony.
this was in ceremony. Yes, I have
Mhm.
not done ayahuasca on my own. Not
Would
yet.
not recommend it.
Not
I would never
recommend
do
it.
that.
It is coming, but that's a whole nother story. So first night, yeah, I went to a place in Minneapolis, which I have to talk about them because they're amazing and their medicine is powerful and the ayahuasca is amazing. Yes, I could have done it without them, but them being there and providing this medicine I'm grateful for it. The first night was extremely challenging. I drank one drink, which usually I'm fine with because
And it's like a tea?
it's a tea. Yeah, it's
okay.
a brewed tea. Comes from like a vine and a leaf. They're brewed together, and that makes it psychoactive. And she's a very powerful medicine. Like,
She takes you over.
she takes
Your
you
body and
over.
your mind.
Yes, like
Yes.
completely over. Mind, body, spirit. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
it all. She's very clever. So first, drink, I couldn't feel much. And 90 minutes in, I was just like, I didn't come down here for anything, like for nothing. I didn't leave my kids for this. Like, I came to heal.
Yeah.
And so I did another drink. And the first one hit me like 10 minutes after drinking the second one. So
Oh dear.
Yeah.
hard, like literally felt like a bus hit me. It was like whoosh. And the purging began and everything started and like my body convulsing, and the ceremony was so powerful with so many people in it. The ayahuasca said it was on the top 5 in the last 40 years he's been around the medicine. So there's a lot going on. They weren't able to fully support me in the way that maybe
They normally would have.
they normally would
Yeah.
have. Yeah, I don't want to like put judgment in it.
And
because-
also, I do feel like the energy of ceremony, it's interesting when I've sat in them before. Sometimes you can kind of feel like, man, if people bring a lot to the ceremony, it's going to be a lot.
Right. And I felt
Mhm.
that coming up to the
Yeah.
ceremony. Like the whole week, I was like, this is going to be powerful. You can tell. But yeah, so the energy of everything in the room, the medicine, it all. Extreme purging, laying in my own vomit for 10 hours straight, not much help. I thought actually the ayahuasca was helping me and talking about me for like 45 minutes, but it was my guides speaking. And I thought, I realized that later on. And you're the only one that didn't think I was completely crazy when I told you that.
No, I've been there.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that first night, that fully healed that assault
Yes.
because I have since that night, and the second night, happened too, but that was a whole nother just fun, exciting story. I have never slept so hard in my life as I do now. I have never felt so much excitement within my body. I have never felt so much joy, alignment, groundedness, all these things that came from that purge. Just getting the trauma out of my body. And I would lay in my own vomit over and over again if I
I
had
think
to.
I read a quote one
Wow.
time that the same energy that locks something in
Mm-hmm.
is the same energy in which it needs to be released from the body.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's true, but I have
Yeah.
always found it a little bit true, if that makes sense.
Explain that.
So
the
like, let's
same-
say you have a traumatic event and you lock something in because you
Right.
don't have the capacity to deal with it.
Right.
So you kind of almost have to go through a very dramatic thing
Oh.
to unlock it.
Right. You have to be hit just as hard to get it out.
Well, and I don't want to claim that, right?
Yeah.
But I have heard that
Mhm.
quote, I've heard that quote said, and
Yeah.
I would say, the first time I went to, when I did go for 2 weeks into Peru,
Yeah.
I had just gone through a lot of things in my life, and I was dealing with a lot of, a divorce, and it was dramatic because
Right.
it was just dealing with all of the abandonment issues that were coming up, and how far back to the abandonment issues you talk about, like this lifetime, but like, is there past lifetimes and
Right.
all of that stuff, and it can be really dramatic, but like, at the end of it, you're just like, oh my gosh, you feel so free.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
feel so free.
Yes.
You're like you were carrying something your entire life that you didn't know you were carrying.
Yes.
And then it's off of you and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I just lost 50 pounds off
Free
my
to be
back.
me.
Right.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's such a freeing experience. I don't,
You can't even
Yeah,
explain
you can't
it.
explain
Like,
it.
you have to experience
yes,
it. Yeah.
it's amazing.
But that makes so much sense because like being assaulted, it was black. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't hear. And my ayahuasca experience was complete black hole and my body was just
Interesting.
releasing.
Yeah.
So that makes complete sense.
I don't know
So
if
thank
it's
you
true.
for the integration. Help me integrate a little more.
It's always, that's
I
life.
mean, I think what is true that the more life you live, the more you realize like healing comes through hard things. Like the only way out is
Yeah.
through. Like that's the
So
phrase that I
true.
hear
My
so
God.
often. And
Exactly.
so there's so often people are out of scarcity, out of fear,
Mhm.
afraid to do the hard thing that will have the enlightenment on the other side. Whether
Exactly.
it's, I mean, just whatever it is, like jump out of an airplane,
yes.
do an ayahuasca ceremony,
Yeah.
have a difficult conversation.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we are an avoidant society.
So true.
And we've
Yeah.
become able to be avoidant because we can basically live our lives independent of others through our devices, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
our avoidance of anything that might cause us a little bit of pain and suffering is a block. It's a
sure.
huge
Oh my
block
gosh.
towards all the beauty that can be on the other side. And if you've suppressed that because of trauma, because of real reasons to hide and,
Yeah.
and avoid, it's just sad to think of how many people are out there that could be released from this, could
Exactly.
transcend it to
Yes.
the other side
Yes.
if they were able to sit in ceremony, access some of these medicines.
Yeah.
And then when you go and you start watching the documentaries and doing the reading and realizing that, big pharma and
Oh,
other entities have essentially kept them from people within our country.
yes.
Your mind really starts to roll around like,
Wait a minute.
what the hell?
I've been controlled.
What the
and
actual hell?
I've been told that this is not okay because it's bad for you, but it's actually a form of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now through you two and meeting other people who have used these tools, I'm like, you don't like. I would always ask in the beginning, like, well, can bad things happen? Like, what happens that's negative other than
That's a really good question.
the
Yeah.
purge, things that sound uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but they're straight up uncomfortable.
There are some
There-
people who shouldn't take them.
Yeah,
Yes.
there are, and that's a good question. But for the most part, what you hear is just the success.
Yes.
You
yes.
the
Yeah.
enlightenment, the load off your back, like all of this. And, especially when you go down to the microdosing, controlled, very intentional, deliberate side of it, like you should almost feel next to nothing. And yet it can still have effects. So
Yeah.
it just makes me think like, why are we gatekeeping this?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why we're here today.
Right.
Is because
Yeah.
we don't want to be gatekeeping
Right.
this anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But you talk to us, Emilie, about like what should people be looking for if this again like piques their interest? Who's a good candidate, who isn't a good candidate, and then also like how do you get to do this work now, given that it is a controlled substance in a lot of cases? Like how are you able to do all of this?
Yeah. Yeah. So people that like should or shouldn't, everyone, again, it's free will. Well, I guess there's the legal part of it, but use your own discernment and intuition, what's best for you. But from my perspective, people that should use psychedelics with caution are people that have not scratched the surface of their trauma, or their nervous system is not regulated. Their nervous system can't handle like that big jolt of bringing everything to the surface, or
Maybe they could start smaller.
they can start smaller and slowly start peeling back the layers.
Like with therapy or
Exactly.
EMDR like you
Yep.
did. Another thing though, I will say, people who are taking, people who have a severe mental illness.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah. So there's certain mental illnesses that affect the prefrontal cortex. And again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. These are things that I've learned. But there's certain mental illnesses that affect the same part that helps you control your body and your mind and all these things. And psychedelics mixed with that can send, somebody that is not, that is mentally ill or unstable more into a psychosis.
Okay.
So yeah, there are definitely, not everybody should be using them. But yeah, I think those are like the main people. Again, just making sure that you have a regulated nervous system. You have the tools. You have the tools to support you in integration as well. You're not just,
That's huge, by the way.
yeah, you're not going
Huge.
and doing like some big experience and then you're going and telling your mom and dad and they're like, you're freaking crazy.
Yeah, you need like almost like a coach
Yes.
or a facilitator such as yourself
Right.
who can work with you before setting intentions,
Completely.
explaining how the medicine works through the body, and then afterwards helping you integrate as well.
Exactly.
That's what the work you do. I've helped people with it as well.
That's why I came to you originally. I was like, I'm so alone.
Yeah.
I just went into a K-hole.
It's
Oh
really,
my
really
gosh.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you don't have anyone to help ground the experience into reality for you.
For sure.
Because you
Yeah.
see stuff and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, like what was that?
Yes.
Was that actually what death is like? Like what was that?
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. And that comes to like one of the things that we're starting to do at the spa where I hold my space at is we're going to do an integration group, a monthly
great.
integration group with a local therapist that has some experience with the medicine. We're going to hold that space so community can come together, connect, share their experiences. It doesn't have to be people that have been my clients or been in our ceremonies. Just being able to have that support and come together, that understanding. But yeah, I forgot your second question.
How is it that you can do this work?
Okay.
Given its legalities.
Right. So with that, combo is one that I serve. That's legal.
And what is combo exactly?
Combo? They call it like what is the word? The immunization of the Amazon. So it's filled with peptides.
Okay.
Oh,
If you know peptides,
Yeah.
peptides are extremely healing. So the peptides go into your body and attach to whatever needs healed. So I like to microdose it a little bit, which is just to keep my skin healthy and just keep my body healthy. And then also if you do enough dots, so you burn the top part of the skin and then you get the top layer off and then you put the medicine into that
Into your
wound.
skin.
Yeah, into
Okay.
the gate. And so that gets into your bloodstream. And so it can also produce extreme purging, depending again on how many dots they do. So you can be vomiting, you can be going to the bathroom, you could be sweating a lot, but it releases a lot of toxins and even gets down
similar to ayahuasca, it sounds like.
Similar, right? For
Yeah.
sure. Other than the psychoactive effect. Yeah. So the ayahuasquero told me to use it to actually integrate ayahuasca the last time, which has been powerful.
Okay.
Yeah. So that one's actually legal. Psilocybin. So psilocybin is a sacrament of our church. I'm executive director of a church called Revival Soul Sanctuary in Duluth. And when you become a member of the church, you're able to use the sacrament of the church.
Okay.
It doesn't make it completely black and white, but it is a part of our religion. And our religion is worshiping the creator. And the creator could be yourself, it could be source, it could be a tree outside, it could be anything you want it to be. Again, it's all free will and free thinking within this space. So that's the safest way that we can do it right now. It is decriminalized pretty much in Minneapolis. Hopefully in Duluth, eventually they realize the benefits of it. With MDMA, I don't provide that. I don't provide the space for it. I provide the support for it if somebody were to choose to do it on their own.
Okay.
So I make sure that they are safely doing it and they prepare their mind, body, and spirit in a safe way. I am on call if they decide to do it the day of, and then I help with integration with that as well. So those are the ones, that I offer right now. One day, maybe ayahuasca. She's been preparing my body, which has been the wildest thing I've ever experienced in my life. But so I hope that she will be coming here one day to Duluth.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And at this point, if somebody is interested in one of those ceremonies, you would connect them to other resources
Yes.
in Minneapolis or beyond.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So if there's a medicine that we don't have in Duluth, I have resources and people that I trust. And I only recommend people that I've actually gone to myself.
Sure.
I would only do it that way. And that's why I went to the place in Minneapolis as well. Not only did I really love the ayahuasca's energy and could tell that he knew the medicine well, this is local and it is very accessible for me. And so I want to make sure that it's a safe place for my clients as well.
I think it's fascinating that you're able to set this up under the construct of a church,
Yeah.
under a religious institution. And
Right.
that's a really interesting angle, ultimately, that you were
Mhm.
able to find. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about that? Like how that works?
How the church works?
Yeah.
In which way? Or
So you formed a church.
right.
How does one do that? Like
Okay.
how does that come together? And then how does that protect as your sacrament? I think that's
Okay.
fascinating.
Yeah. So it came together with an attorney that is amazing and has helped a lot of churches get started in the US. I started it with a friend last year, and then we did not have the same intentions for the church. And again, it was just like paperwork. It's just starting
Paperwork.
any
Yeah.
business,
right.
nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah.
But then also, of course, figuring out our bylaws, setting our board of directors, doing all of that stuff as well.
Sure.
And then, so we had an intention for the church, and that didn't feel good to me anymore. So I ended up leaving it. And I wasn't saying, I don't mean they were doing anything wrong. It just wasn't the same intention as mine.
Yep.
Went my separate way, found actually they found me in a way, a new group of people that I fully align with and love and just know I was meant to work with these people. Went with them and then realized that the person that was running the church his heart wasn't in it anymore. So I said, why don't I take it off your hands?
Okay.
How much money do you want for donating it back to me? You can't buy a nonprofit, I guess, but and it just happened. Yeah.
Okay.
It was supposed to be with me, I feel, since the
Yeah.
beginning.
And part of the, I guess, things of a nonprofit, the bylaws or whatever, are that you can have a sacrament.
Okay.
To your point, is that an
Yeah.
accurate statement?
Yes, yeah. So it is a sacrament of our religion.
Okay.
Just as I might say this wrong because I'm not good with religions, with other religions. Like wine is a sacrament
Yes.
of
Yes.
the
Catholic
Christian
Church.
Catholic
Yeah.
Church,
Yeah,
right?
Christian. Yep.
So that's their sacrament. They get to have
Got it.
alcohol as a sacrament. And mushrooms have actually been a sacrament of religions for thousands of years.
Yep. That makes
I
sense.
had
Kind of like the indigenous cultures, they use
Mhm.
peyote and
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, they use peyote. And then I actually had a mentor up in Alaska that I sat with in Costa Rica last year, and her family has had mushrooms in their lineage for forever. And she said, this is why we've done this work, is to pave the way for you guys to bring the medicine to more people. You know, we
Wow.
want this. Like
Wow.
our
Yeah.
lineage wants this. So yeah, I think some people would maybe think it's disrespecting to certain lineages, but it's just like, no, they want everyone to heal just as much as we do.
Yeah. Well, I think it's brilliant that in your pursuit of finding out how to serve
Yes.
this
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
like
And
you
help people heal. Yep.
You use the tools that were available to you. And I applaud you for that, because
Thank
at the
you.
end of the day,
Mhm.
like you had to figure out a really tough problem. Like, I want to get this to people,
Right.
but the laws of our current society where we live don't
Yes.
make that easy.
No,
But
yeah.
you figuring it out.
Yeah.
And continuing to expand the many ways and offerings that you can use to help people.
Yeah. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you guys. Like last year was, it was hard, like trying to get out more into the public and taking,
You did fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you've
Dealing
had
with the
to
judgment and all the things.
right, you've had to
Yes.
work through so much shame and judgment
Yeah.
and criticism, or I mean,
Right.
I don't even know, but anybody in that mindset just doesn't know you. Like they don't
Right.
know you, and they don't want to know
Right.
that there
Right.
are other ways, and these things are scary to them.
Right.
So that's why I really like sharing, or having us be able to share this with people, because
Yes.
who are we to judge? And at the end of the day, like, you providing a safe and loving and constructive environment for healing
Yeah.
Yeah.
seems like a good plan.
I mean, I do
Thank
feel
you.
like we are all going to heal. It's just we all should be on a healing journey. I feel like my whole life has been healing, right?
Right. Right.
It's whatever just aligns. And if the person that you're going to facilitate or help bring you on the path to healing has a high level of integrity,
Mhm.
then, and you align with what it is that they're recommending for you, that's the important part.
Yeah.
That's the piece
Yeah.
that's so important. They have a foundation, they have an understanding, they have integrity around the work that they do. That's really like what's important, because then you can surrender to your healing process.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of surrender that's required with plant medicine.
Right.
And there's a lot of fear, and, we want to demystify it, but we also don't want people to get so blasé about it either.
Yeah.
Yeah. There needs to be a lot of respect.
Yeah, a lot of respect, but then also not like being in such like a strict place of like, oh my God, this is the way it's going to go, because then that
Yes,
scares
that's not
people
right.
as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a client a couple weeks ago. She's like, if I would have came in here and you were like this, like saying the way everything was going to go no matter what, I would have ran out the door. She's like, you were just like relaxed and fun. And I'm like, because this is fun for me. I love it. Like it
Yeah.
should be relaxed and fun. There are going to be hard and difficult things that you're going to go through, and facing those shadows
Yes.
are not easy, but the medicine makes it a little easier, and having a safe space makes it easier as well. So yeah, it can be fun once you're through the dark, once you alchemize.
Yeah. And you are so uniquely suited to live this path and this role,
Thank you.
because one, you've done your own work,
Mhm.
and you just energetically give off that safe space
Thank
for
you.
people, and being with you, and
Yeah.
and I think it's remarkable, and it's been so amazing to watch you figure this out.
Yeah. Thank
Like,
you.
to know
Yes.
so deeply that you needed to do this, but how?
Yeah.
And even for us, we didn't necessarily know how.
Right.
Like, this is not the type of business I've ever built.
Right.
But it was easy to sit with you and say, like, keep going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Going.
Mhm.
Right.
Like, confront that, go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Try this. What about this? Like,
Right.
to bounce ideas with you.
Absolutely.
And to just encourage you to keep pursuing the dream.
Right.
And not to get discouraged by the many roadblocks that would fall into your path.
Yeah. Yeah. You helped me with a huge one of like, do you fully believe in this? Because I was still kind of like
Yeah.
tiptoeing around a little bit. Like, have I changed? Have I healed? Did this work? Am I crazy? And then I woke up one morning and your voice was in my head.
Oh, dear.
That's me on the daily.
You were right. Yeah, there was a little doubt there. And that's why people aren't on board with
Yeah,
me, because
that you
I
need to
wasn't on
buy
board with
into it.
myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And And so coming to that realization and then going back and seeing everything it had done for me and the catalyst it had been in my life. And I was like, yeah, this fucking worked. Like, excuse my language, but like, yes, it worked. And then after that, it continued even working even more.
And I think that's something we've been talking a lot about is like a lot of the work we do is like we said in the beginning of this conversation, like seeing, or maybe we said that before we were recording, but seeing people. We allow people to be seen and heard. And sometimes like within you, I could see that you did fully believe in it,
right?
But that you were holding yourself back from accepting that.
Yeah.
And so it's that person in your life, whoever they may come to be, your coach, your therapist, your family member, friend, whatever, who sees and can get you to see it or can ask you the hard questions.
Right.
Like you need that person on your team.
For sure.
And, like that's just something that's been a delight for us is to get to be a little bit those people and your cheerleaders.
The mirrors.
Exactly.
We get to be your mirrors.
Yeah. Yeah. My biggest cheerleaders. And then also, the mirror of the shadowy parts because I love those shadowy parts.
Oh my gosh. The shadowy parts. There's a lot to learn there.
To get through those.
Yes. Oh, it's so cool. Well, I feel like this has just been a really cool, exciting, beautiful, interesting topic to scratch the surface of because that's, I mean, there's so much more here.
Yes.
We want anybody listening to be able to learn more about you, Emilie, and the work that you do and to connect through you to other ways of experiencing this because you're a tremendous resource. Yeah. And I hadn't said it before, but I think that Emilie saying that she, wouldn't recommend something that she hadn't tried or vetted, like that also gives me a lot of confidence in recommending you. To people. But we will link in our show notes and in our socials to Emilie and to what she does. And then also just to encourage people to pursue education on this topic. And
absolutely.
I know I went home and just was Googling everything and like watching documentaries. I just wanted to know. And there's some really fascinating articles out there, more and more all the time, work on this topic and a lot of movements throughout the US and legality and bringing these things to make them more accessible. In Minnesota, it's definitely coming. Right? Or if it's not already here.
For sure.
And there's other places in the US that are more open to this. But go do the research.
Educating yourself,
Educate
Start the
yourself.
rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. And if you think that you might be a good candidate, you've done some of the work already, you are prepared and ready for it, you reach out to Emilie and she connects you to what happens next.
Yes. Absolutely.
So,
I want to thank you for being so bold and coming on and sharing not only your story, but also like the medicine you share with people, because I think it's, it's the way in which we should probably move to healing, because so many of the things that we've been using to help people on their healing journey, like I mentioned, has so many side effects.
Yes.
Where this, when done in a safe container and with safe facilitators, it just doesn't have that sort of heaviness around it. It lifts the heaviness off of you and it creates a lightness. And I'm all about the light, being in the light, living in the light, focusing on the light. So I appreciate your boldness around it, because while I have major respect and props, I wouldn't want to do it because it's I don't know. It's kind of questionable, I guess, for me. So,
Yeah.
Well,
it's not your calling.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's not your calling, Monique.
Thank God we have you.
We have you. Thank you.
Just with the side effect part, I think also just that they come from the earth. They don't want you to be dependent on them the rest of your life, like some of these other.
Because they're free?
Yeah, some of these other medicines where the side effects, and then also you become dependent on them.
Absolutely.
These you don't become dependent on.
Like that's an excellent note to end on and piques people's interest as well. And like, wait a minute, something that can heal me that I don't become dependent on?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we
what
all like some of that?
Yeah.
So thank you, Emilie, for being a bright light to us and to so many
guys.
people in your life.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, friends. You've just finished another episode of the Heart and Soul podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed the show, and if you've loved it, we would love if you'd leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening. You can find links to leave that review in the show notes, where you'll also find other resources that we reference on our show. And if you think a friend could find value in today's episode or any future episodes, please share this episode with them on social media. This is one of the only ways the podcast can organically grow, and we just can't wait to connect with you and all of your besties. You can also find Monique and I on our many social media platforms or our websites, and we're going to leave links to those in the show notes as well. Thank you for listening. We look forward to sharing our hearts and souls with you again next time. With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique.